Going to
I think we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of ATL on Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club. As always, I'm joined by Dave Katz and Carmen Butler, and we have a special guest, Carmen's son, Ty. He's going to talk a little MLS refereeing, maybe some Rel promo. So how's everybody doing this evening?
Hello, welcome Tyson to the podcast.
Yes,
Hello.
my
Mhm.
older son. Yeah, so y'all know I like watching soccer, but they actually watch around the world and are really into it. So I thought I'd bring Tyson by to.
Awesome.
Plus,
Talk
we
a
don't
little
want to
bit.
give it away, but Tyson's a world-class referee.
I hope.
So hopefully we can get some insights into what you think about MLS refereeing and maybe a little bit about some of the rules later on.
Maybe.
He's super excited, can't you tell?
There are no rules, Mikey Dobbs. Oh,
And-
no, wait, that's the podcast. MLS does have rules.
There's no rules, but there's only one rule about this podcast, and that's that you bring a lovely wine
Okay, yeah.
to each of these shows. That
Even though I won the bet.
I've totally forgotten about any sort of bet.
So the bet, dear podcast listeners, if you will recall,
Carmen won the bet.
well, Carmen really won the bet. Because we were betting about what the outcome would be, and Carmen said 1-1. What are you, Notre Dame?
I'm a genius, and
You
what you
are,
called
yeah,
me?
I did call you a
genius.
genius. You are a
Yeah.
genius.
I appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep it going. No, a lot of pressure building.
I know.
And I do think the recording, to be fair, I said in my heart, I thought it would be a tie. But
Yeah, after
I
I
did-
told you we never went on the road.
I did. Yeah, I changed my mind after you're like, we never went on the road.
You said we were going to win, and I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
We have won 3 games in the road in the last 2 seasons. So I said, you have only 2 options. I said, loss or tie. And you're like, yeah, probably a tie, but I'm still going with the win. And so then I said, other. I'll take
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And I
So-
never actually said whether I thought we were going to win or tie.
You did not. I even asked you.
Had
and
I
you were
been
like, "Nope."
pushed, I probably would have said tie.
I always try to make bad bets just for fun.
I love that about you, Mikey Dobbs.
What's
It's
amazing,
like, yeah.
what's remarkable is that Mikey Dobbs lost the bet, and yet I still brought the wine.
That's how it works.
So who's the real winner here? Okay, sorry, we don't want to derail you.
No. So we've got a little bit to talk about this evening. And before we get into that, I
start
guess
with the wine
we
or
start-
with our sponsor.
let's start with the wine. What are we
Okay.
drinking?
We're drinking a petite.
A petite, and we've
So
had
it's
this
a
before.
clever name, right? So it's a petite Syrah. It's from
Good
Lodi,
suggestion.
California, right? And the ironic part about it is petite, small and sort of wimpy and whatever, but this wine is anything but that. And it's
Yeah.
a petite Syrah, so they call it petite.
Mhm.
And it's a joke because it's a huge wine.
It is
Ah.
very huge.
Anyway.
It's very rich. Your whole mouth kind of gets spongy after a sip.
Very good.
And I'm drinking Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is also awesome.
Ronaldo disagrees that that's a good idea, but who cares about Ronaldo's opinion,
All
right?
And what about our sponsor?
Our sponsor, and we've got the awesome animation back for you, Dave.
Us, and then we could be like, we've got better beer, and they can be like, what, you
Right.
brought us beer? We went, yeah, we
Yeah.
brought Wild Heaven
Emergency drinking beer.
from the other location.
Very good. Yeah, so we do need to go out there and broadcast again.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Mhm.
That was fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just talking to Nick's son. We were talking about a little of the game against Orlando, and be fun to get some guests on and get their opinion up there as well. So before we get started, we got some things to talk about. I might go on a few rants. We want to recap the Orlando game. We're gonna have our
Did we have a record number of rants in the last podcast?
I think maybe there was
We
a
had
lot
a
of
lot of the button.
It was a lot of button pushing.
Carmen, you're the official scorekeeper. Was it a record?
I'm going to say yes.
excellent.
I'm going to
All
say
right.
yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna break the record
Oh.
today.
That's disappointing.
We're going to bring back Cat's Corner, Dave. Evidently, you've done a bunch of research that could take up maybe 15 podcasts
Who,
of
me?
time,
What?
15
No.
hours
No,
of notes.
must have been someone else.
Lots of research from Professor Katz on what he's found out about this team through deep research. We'll do a preview of the New England game. Again, talk a little bit about the refereeing and why there's no lines or technology in MLS VAR. We'll go maybe across the pond, talk about the finish of the season over in Europe, and then possibly back to the USA and talk about U.S. soccer, which we never seem to get to as we get deep into the podcast. But, I definitely want to rant a little bit. The first thing I want to say in my rant is get it together, Atlanta United media and comms, whoever does the post-game conferences or the preview conferences. The audio is unbearable. You can't hear what they're saying. I tweeted about it earlier. A lot of people concur. I asked Doug Roberson to maybe ask them, like, it's clearly an issue. I mean, I have my TV like turned up to 90. And then when it's like just to be able to barely hear like the questions and answers. And then it flips to like ESPN FC and it's like my speakers almost get blown. It's like, it's brutal. Come on. And somebody over there has to notice that. I mean, it's not balanced audio. So
some, outfits like the ATL on Fire podcast have good sound.
This is welcome to ATL on Fire.
Is that your radio voice?
Yeah.
I like it.
And then, another rant. I don't know if you noticed in the Orlando game, Pineda was wearing almost like a purple blue shirt.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. I was outraged. It's a little strong, but
Yeah.
yes.
How about some self-awareness? Are you kidding me? The little things. It's the little things right now that are killing me.
Wait, you think he didn't know that Orlando is purple?
But what's the issue, though? What's
The color. You can't go to Orlando and wear purple.
If you were a Man City fan, would you go as a coach to Man United and wear red?
No.
I mean, I went
Pep
to
Guardiola wearing red at Man United?
I mean, in Chambly Soccer's biggest game of the season, I went to Dalton. I wore a red shirt. I practically looked like I was a member of their team.
And see, I bet you somebody is outraged to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you
They're
did
still
that.
talking about that guy.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Chambly school. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I texted y'all about soccer at all, but I was like, does he have a purple shirt
And
on?
I could have forgiven him. Right then and there. But later on in the game, he gives Barry minutes again.
Oh.
And I don't know, like if you guys have, heard the stats on Barry, they're not good. We recapped it before. Now he's had 13 games. He's had 0 goals, 0 assists, and maybe 1 shot on goal. Carmen seems to remember one. I remember.
I feel like I saw a shot on goal.
I do remember one that was a perfect opportunity from the slot in
We
the
can
side
look that
net.
up.
He
And-
caused a goal in the game against Chicago.
Yep.
yeah,
the
you do
free
the
kick.
foul.
No, the defenders caused that goal, Tyson. You got it all wrong. There was
defenders
3
just
of them.
tripped him for
They
no
tripped him
reason.
for no reason.
You know how long it's been since he scored an MLS goal?
33 games at this point.
30.
Because he did score one in that one.
33 games.
Because that was a stat. That was a stat you brought up before that game. I
So
said
there's a
30
rule in
33
MLS that if you go 34, which is an official whole season without scoring, you're permanently banned from the MLS. You can never play again.
I love that rule. Thank goodness somebody.
As a forward.
Thank goodness some rules in place.
I'm kidding, people, but I'm not. Like if you're a forward and you don't go 32 consecutive MLS games without scoring, and you've gone for MLS, for Atlanta United for your new team, and you haven't scored, you haven't assisted, you haven't hit the target, you're a forward.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How do you keep playing somebody like that?
Guys, we have somebody in the chat,
All
Mr.
right.
Brent Crawford, who appreciates that Miguel Berry did draw a red card last game and had a good drive and shot this game. I saw it.
Yes.
I think that's what
Did
I
he get a
remember.
red card?
He drew
it.
a red
He
card
drew it
last.
from the
Oh,
penalty.
right.
That was the trip
Yeah.
that caused it. But as we talked about in the podcast, it was a pretty soft red card
Yeah.
that we gave up. But yeah, credit to him.
Yeah, credit to him.
He did something that helped us.
And he did a dribble into the box this last game where he actually beat some people. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, he beat like
Yes,
3 people.
3 people.
Yeah,
But then
that was
no,
shocking. But then it
Didn't go well.
Didn't go well.
He
So,
shot and he missed the goal, right?
Yeah.
I don't think
He blazed it high and wide.
Giacomakis would have scored the shot in this game either.
No, but
Yeah.
Yakimakis at least does score, and he does hit the target.
You got to put it on frame to have any chance.
That's true.
And
Period,
you've got
the
to
end.
shoot. There's a lot of people talk about wasted strikers, volume players who just shoot. Fair enough. But, he never shoots
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be optimistic
because he's
gonna-
never on the ball because he never moves. Right. I mean, his usage is really bad.
Yeah.
Like he never gets on the ball. They never find him.
You guys are just hating too much on Miguel Barron. Honest.
He really doesn't like the fact we
Well,
like, talk about
because
that.
I deserve a
That's
chance.
because
I'm 48.
Exactly.
Tyson and I deserve a chance at this point to get in
Yeah.
there. That's what bothers
Mikey
me.
Dow's would at least shoot it.
Yeah. At least I would shoot. At least I would be offside occasionally.
Yeah, true.
I would probably have a heart attack around 5 minutes in, but
Sure.
at least I would
It'd be
entertain you.
memorable,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Mikey Dobbs is in. He pressured 2 defenders. He shoots it over the goal, and he has a heart attack. Wow, what an outing.
Well, I want to say thank you to some of our new subscribers. We had a good run of
Yes.
subscribers. Looks like some folks are tuned in and asking questions. Thanks for joining Brent and the crew that are online. What do you want to talk about regarding the Orlando game, Dave? Who ended up in a 1-1 draw, as we mentioned. What was your grade on our performance against a relatively good Orlando side, right? Like a decent
I think
team.
Orlando is a much better team. And, the question you can ask yourself is, why is Orlando a better team? Because they were terrible for years, right? In the last couple of years, they were pretty good. They made the playoffs, right? They won the U.S. Open Cup, right? And it's, what it is? I mean, they have a couple better players, but they've had, they had the Nanis of the world. They've had some other, designated players who were good or whatever. The difference is the coach. Right, they finally got a really good coach, Oscar Pareja, and they're good. Like, going back to our argument about how much does the coach matter, but this is a franchise that couldn't get in the playoffs for nothing. They get a coach who's routinely in the playoffs, and what's going to win? Is it the club that never gets in the playoffs, or the coach who always gets in the playoffs? It's the coach who always gets in the playoffs, gets them in the playoffs. So they're a much better team.
And I think they wanted it more in the first half at least.
Yeah. Well,
when do players not want it though? That's
Yeah.
like this problem with like this whole intensity, urgency thing. It's not like these guys are going out there consistently like, I don't feel like playing soccer. I didn't like all that practice we put in this week. I'm not going to give it my all. That's the problem I have with a little bit of the narrative that Pineda continues to push as an excuse when the guys aren't up for it. They're not giving a little bit extra. Okay, that can happen and from game to game.
Yep.
If you're coaching, if everything looks right in practice, which by all accounts it seems to, like people aren't.
He said they look intense in practice,
Right.
and then they fall flat in the game,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
hard to believe.
Yeah.
And then people say we don't have leadership.
Well-
Hard to believe. It's kind of, to me, as a coach, that sounds like coach speak, right? That we just lack intensity.
Yeah.
And
Well, particularly in this last game, because you feel like we had 3 leaders on the team. I think Yakamaki started, right? So you got a leader in him just by the way he plays. Almada, kind of your silent star, who's using his skill. He didn't have a great game, or at least didn't stand out anyway. And then we had a surprise entry of Brad Guzan. Certainly wasn't expecting him to come back that fast, right?
yeah. Well, we talk leadership, so the best team in the world right now by far is Man City, right?
Yeah.
Who's the leader on Man City?
Well, you would probably say to some degree the keeper.
De Bruyne.
I think a lot of people would say De Bruyne. I think he's the captain, but he doesn't talk that much. He's kind of a silent leader. I think he's got leadership qualities.
Don't people all turn back to that keeper though and be like, he's at least
Ederson?
I mean,
he's balking a little bit, but it doesn't seem like he's the leader of that team.
well, I mean, De Bruyne just is a
When they had
insane
Vincent
player,
Kompany, it was very clear they had a classic leader. He wore the captain's armband. Everybody was like clearly afraid of him. But this team doesn't seem to me have any leader.
I would
they're
agree.
phenomenal.
It might be Ruben Diaz as well.
Ruben Diaz could be. I mean,
I feel like it's shared.
But Ruben Diaz could, he's the kind of player who could be, but he's sort of soft spoken. You don't see him talking that much. Like, you'd be hard pressed to name a leader on that team, and yet, oh my God, are they good?
Yeah.
Oh, Ed Gundogan.
Gundogan, yeah.
Gundogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think you're right. If you have a bunch of really good players,
Good players, good
you-
coach, good team.
yeah,
Right.
you don't necessarily need that one leader or
Right.
couple leaders to be
Right.
the yeah.
Because people say, "Oh, it's hard to quantify leadership," but I mean, when you need leadership is when things are going badly.
Yeah.
Need someone to drag you out of it, right?
That's
but
true.
obviously, Man City doesn't have things go badly very much. You don't really need a leader, right? And to be honest, if you would say, "What does Atlanta United need a leader right now?" Maybe, but it's not like things are going so badly. We're in the tank. We're out of the playoff spots. We haven't done, I think, really well. But
I've had this conversation with like Mills or somebody back before around like I almost feel like you do need, whether it's with the band or not, somebody in the backfield to be the vocal captain on the field. I'm a little disappointed that I don't feel like I would love it to be Miles Robinson. I just don't think that's his persona. I think he likes to just lead with playing and letting his feet do the work. But, he doesn't bark at people. He's not screaming at people. Like when stuff goes wrong, you see Brad Guzan.
Guzan is clearly leading in the back.
Yeah.
And Guzan seems like he's really
and he always
smart.
has. He always has.
Right? He
Like,
seems to know where a lot of the problems are.
Did you see in the field he ran over to Pineda and was screaming at him?
Yeah, he
at
was
the
trying to
beginning.
tell him some things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, that's not a good sign, Dave.
I think that Guzan could be a terrific coach.
Yeah.
He seems to have that in him, right? I
Yeah.
would be interested,
That's a good call there.
What do you think about my mom? Do you think she could be a good coach?
Yeah, of course.
Ugh, no. I would love to coach one day, but yeah, we'll see about
We've
that.
already got a contract, you and I.
Oh,
We're
that's
gonna
right.
coach.
That's
We've
right.
got to figure out the
And
time.
Dobbs too.
This
We're gonna do it.
podcast is eating up all our free time. I don't know how Dave does it. He's a man of many hobbies.
Oh, Coach Katz, what's one good coaching tip you could give? Just a random.
One good coaching tip. I mean, it starts with player evaluation, right? I
And-
mean, one thing that you can do as a coach, you got to be able to identify not just who are good players, but what are their individual talents or not, strengths and weaknesses, and put them in places that maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses.
Right. So unlike where Luis Araujo was, where you're complicating it with the inverted
Yeah.
winger, where you could have just simplified everything for him on this team,
Yeah.
played him out left, said, "Hey, superstar, really just let's start with this. We're going to play it to you on your front foot. And your job is to go down in the corner and whip in an amazing cross."
It was interesting. After a while, one of the reporters asked Pineda and said, because there were a couple of moments where they switched and Araujo ended up on the left side and he looked really, really good. And one of the reporters said, did you do that on purpose? Would you think about doing that? And he said that Pineda said that, well, things aren't going so well for him at the moment. We want to keep him where he's comfortable.
I remember that.
But that seems to me crazy.
If he's comfortable there,
Like you're letting the player say, "Oh, that's where I'm comfortable, so I'm going to play there." You're the coach, right? I mean, and I'm not saying you override. Players do like to think this is what I am or whatever. But if you're a coach, you go to a player and be like, "Look, I think you could do better. I think this is your talent. These are the things that I would like to see from you, and I think we could maximize them from here. Why don't you try it?"
Yeah.
Do we have any intel on how Araujo played before he got over here? Like
He was inverted a little bit,
A
I
little
think,
bit?
in Lille, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where it's
do you
come from.
guys think Luis Araujo would have made a difference on Saturday?
um,
No.
not a big one.
No.
No,
Yeah.
not a big one.
We got killed in the
could've-
midfield. I mean, they just won the territorial battle basically, and
What did you think
we
of the
couldn't
starting
create
lineup?
stuff. The starting lineup was close to our best
Yeah.
starting lineup.
No, I was like,
Right?
I was shocked. We had Hernandez was playing right fullback like I always wanted. In front of him was Lennon too, right? As I
Yep.
had kind of predicted.
Which I think will be the answer without
yeah.
Araujo, at least for now.
I agree. And then we had Miles and Parata, and then Gutman in the left fullback. Etienne was on the left.
Yep.
And then we had Sosa, Almada, and Josetu, not no Ibarra. Like we always said that he'll never play Ibarra and Sosa together. That would have been maybe the difference in our
That's
midfield.
the crazy thing. right?
That was our one. That's our one nitpicky thing is
Yeah.
have Ibarra in there versus.
I think he's done it once ever.
Yeah.
And I think he was sort of forced
Yeah.
because so many people were hurt. He played them both.
So
But-
what was the big tactical issue on down in Orlando in your mind?
Well, I mean, maybe this gets us. I mean, are we ready for Katz's corner?
Yeah, let's go Katz's corner right now. Since we're not going to, nitpick the game away, right?
Yeah. So I think this game, is a classic example of all the things that they're holding us back. So what I did was I did an analysis of every goal that we scored and every goal that we conceded. And this is, I preface this by saying it's my own personal analysis, it's my own personal bias, et cetera, et cetera. So feel free to question what we're talking about, right? So first of all, things that are non-biased, right? So first of all, we have scored going into this game, we had scored 10 free kicks, right? We scored 1 this game, so that's 11 on the season. The closest other team in MLS has only scored 5. So we're now 5 or 6 goals better than any other MLS team scoring on free kicks. So that's Almada, amazing free kicks, and it's corner kicks to the big 3, right?
Yeah.
Miles, Gigi,
Parata.
and Parata. And of course, even when we've gotten some headers from other people, like Gutman scored on a header off a corner, but we're dominant on corners. I mean, just dominant. The number of times we get a corner and we get something going towards the goal, it's almost all.
Yeah, it's been
right?
good set pieces this year.
So we've only given up 3 free kick goals. So that's +7, right?
Yep.
And now +8, right? Because we scored 1 and given whatever. So maybe Carmen can pull up our goal differential, right?
Okay.
So if you look at the MLS table, you'll see our goal differential, and you come back to it. I'll keep talking for now, but
The goal differential is 4. Atlanta has 29 goals scored, 25 conceded.
yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Woo.
Right. So all of our goal differential, everything and more, is all free kicks, right? And the thing about free kicks is credit to us, coaches are coaching well or whatever. Obviously, you have good players. You can't coach what Almada does. But none of that's tactical, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you might say the corner kick plays are tactical, but it's really not like tactical how you play. It's a set piece, it's a play, and it's players who can do that, right? So if you're talking about, if you take that away, right, and if you just say the average play, right, because we're +7, right, now we're +8, right? So if you take that away, we're -4. So again, maybe I'll ask Carmen to pull up the table, right, and go find out where -4 is in the table, right? It's not good. So right now, where are we? Okay, so we're in 5th place, and we have a +4. Okay, obviously Charlotte's the anomaly at -5, right behind us, right? But if you go to -4, right? Most of the teams at -4 are, Chicago is at -3 at 12th, New York -3 at 11th, Red Bulls -3 at 13th, right? Toronto and Inter in last place -4, right? So you take away that, and tactically in the games, we are not good.
Atlanta did lose 6-1 to Columbus, and they tied New York and Chicago too. So.
Yeah, so that obviously is an anomaly, that huge loss that we lost with all their players, and it's clouding our goal differential. So that's something to keep in mind. But okay, so going forward, all right, of the 28 goals going into this game, 17 of them, of the 28 goals going into this weekend, Almada had a major role in.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, right?
Mhm.
So we are relying heavily on 2 things. One thing that really stands out from the analysis, just factually, before we even go into what I think might be going right or wrong, right? We are relying heavily on free kicks, and we are relying heavily on Almada, right? And free kicks, you got to say, that's not going to go away. We've got an amazing free kick team, except maybe if we lose Almada. If we lose Almada, we lose the 25-yard free kicks, and we lose his 17 goal contributions. This team has no chance if Almada leaves. Like,
None.
It's going into the tank. right? Because we're barely hanging on just above what we're doing with that, right?
So we have an opportunity to get another DP right now, right?
Yes.
Where are we looking? We talked about this before.
Well, so one of the things I'll say is that to me, and maybe we'll go into it later, but if you do an analysis of our current team versus our MLS champion team, one of the things that pops out of that dramatically is the major difference between the championship side and this side is in the center of the park.
Yeah.
That's what. Other than that, we actually look really good,
and I think
we match up maybe even better.
Greg Garza alluded to that too when we talked to him earlier in the year. I think a little bit around Remedi and Nagby. I think he Lorenowitz. Like he was definitely giving a nod to
Almarone.
Almarone. Like that core was pretty rock solid.
But what I would say is, if you think about also our left-footed problem, where we have 3 left-footed wingers, we had Etienne, Araujo, and Wiley, right? So you got rid of one of them. So, and obviously, I think Lennon moving to the right wing is an obvious solution. I would not buy a like-for-like winger as a designated player. I would not buy a striker. Gigi is the best, and what are you going to buy a striker to sit on the bench? Yeah. I would buy a center midfielder, a box-to-box creative guy. The best player in the world for our side right now would be Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, we're not getting Kevin De Bruyne, but we want a designated player, Kevin De Bruyne,
for the MLS.
Yes, for the MLS.
Where do you find that guy? You got to go to Europe, South America. What's the most likely?
You could get, I'm not usually in favor of bringing in an older European guy.
Yeah,
but
that's
where
my head's
for
going.
Example, Dennis Eriksson for Man United. I'm not saying he's going to leave Man United this year, but he probably only got one more year left in Europe. If he came a year from now, that kind of a player would be terrific in this side. A guy who just bridges a Sadic upgrade.
Right.
I think South America would be good to find somebody personally.
Yeah, we certainly have been getting a lot of good players from there.
Have we gotten anyone from Europe? Has Atlanta United done one of those older European?
Well, Giacomakis.
Oh, I think I was thinking more
Greek.
like.
But why does South America matter anymore? Because we don't have a Tata who can attract young players anymore to be like, oh, I'm going to be coached by Tata. I don't know what the allure is other than, we obviously have a little.
But I don't think that was ever it. I think the allure was you can buy really good players on the cheap. So a lot of the European players are really, they're overpriced, right? So the South American players, because it's not as visible, those leagues, you can get players for cheaper.
Yeah.
So you can get a much better player. You can get an Almada. You can get an Almarone, right? Who are obviously quality.
But it seems like we could find like one of these, like you said, that even somebody who's at the lower end of the table in Premier League, right? For example, that might be on his last year or two, like you mentioned with.
I mean, an example of this in the MLF is a player like Shaqiri, right? Who I think is not good enough for Chicago. I think actually for Chicago, he's an awful player. Because he's a player like that is a luxury player at this point. Shaqiri, once upon a time, could really battle, could probably go up and down, make a tackle, whatever. He's not that player anymore. Right. But he's still creative on the ball and is really good. And if you put him in a team that does everything else well, surrounded with a really good team, he could be really good for a year or two.
Yeah.
That kind of player.
I'm
not a huge fan of Shaqiri, but
what else do you have in your notebook there?
Okay. So let's go to just a couple more facts just to round it out. So penalty kicks, we have converted one and missed one. We have 3 against. So, I mean, the reason why I bring that up is that, we've only created 2 penalty kicks. You might have thought with the players we have dribbling, the Almadas and Araujos and Etiennes and Wileys, that we might have a little more.
Yeah.
Right. We're not getting close to that. So that's just something I should note in. But anyway, okay. Let's go to the things that we're talking about a lot. Pinching in airplanes, right? These are things that we've talked a lot about. So pinching in being the outside backs really coming close to the two center backs, right? And leaving the outside forwards pretty wide open. And airplanes where we have both of our outside backs bombing up the sides and really crowding the space. And one thing that we talked about is that we thought, just based on, I went through game by game, airplanes versus no airplanes. We did this a couple weeks ago. And what we said, to my surprise, I thought what we were going to find is that the airplanes were giving up goals. That really wasn't the case. What was actually happening, if you went through that analysis, is when we had airplanes, we were scoring fewer goals. Right. So then I actually this time now went through all the goals that we scored and said, all right, do we think the airplanes had an effect? Do we to the goals that we scored? And do we think that pinching in had a negative effect? Okay. So I think that there were 5 goals that were directly contributed by the fact that we were pinching in.
Okay.
And an additional 3 goals where I thought there was maybe a slight contribution. Okay. So I think, and I'll go through it in a minute, what I think all the net means, but that's a good 5 to 8 goals that we maybe could have eliminated. Obviously, we're not going to eliminate them all, but that's a possibility of eliminating if we were to just get rid of the fact that our outside backs are pinching in too far.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about the airplane effect on goals. So this gets really, really subjective. Not in terms, I think it's very clear when we have airplanes, but it gets subjective as to saying, what is that causing an effect, right? Yeah. So I counted 6 goals where I thought that not having the airplane seemed to really open it up for one of our outside guys in the front. Now, that is incredibly a subjective thing to say because you're like, he could have been open with the airplane, but where we really got it open down the sides, there were 6 goals that were like that. And I also felt that there were 4 instances where having airplanes seemed to affect us defensively, where our guys were up, they played in behind the airplanes, and that led directly to a goal. Okay. So that's, again, being very liberal. It's somewhere 6 to 10 goals, the possibility that the airplanes are sort of hurting us. But I also wanted to see were there cases where we really overloaded it and I felt like the airplanes contributed to a goal. There were 2 very obvious cases where we got a really good cross that led to a goal that came from an airplane.
And everybody was pressed up.
Right. And so, again, that's, potentially -10 + 2. Okay. So let's talk about it overall. Yeah. These 2 tactical things that I think that we are doing wrong, with the caveat that these are, sort of subjective, right? So I think overall for the airplanes, we had, some negative, some positive, and I think overall probably at least -2, right? That's not huge, but it's probably at least 2 goals. If you add in the 6 times, which are very subjective, that it seems to really help us not having the airplanes, it could be as much as +8. Now, I don't think it's really a +8, but okay. And then with pinching in, there were 8 instances where pinching in really cost us. That could be as many as 16.
Right.
I also noted 2 cases where we were blatantly gave them an outlet where we weren't really marking anybody. Our center backs were just dropping off and letting them play. So there were 2 cases like that. So altogether, you take all that together, that could be as many as 18 goals. Okay.
I have a question, Dave.
Yeah.
How many goals would we have scored if Miguel Berry got no minutes and we had somebody else on the field? Because we're all, no, sorry, keep going.
Yeah,
keep going.
All right. So obviously we're not going to get 18 from that. Nobody is possibly saying that all those examples or whatever. And for example, I think that, for example, you also, if you talk about the negative, you have to say, well, did the pinching in help? Right. So we have only conceded 2 goals up the middle all season. Period.
Really?
Right. 2. Every single goal that we're conceding is out wide. So that's very clear.
That's the insight right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, that's the big insight.
So it is possible that the pinching in is blocking goals from being conceded up the middle, or it is possible that the pinching in is giving them goals out wide, or it's possible both.
It is so clear that we are at this level giving easy crosses, and by being pinched in, it's screwing up the assignments because there's too many people in there and no accountability on who the obvious guy is.
Right. I agree. So I also noted that there was only one single goal that we have conceded where a defender got dribbled by. Right, one in the whole season, and there were 2 additional goals that we gave up where defender was one-on-one.
Was that the Nashville game where that guy went bombing through the center?
No, it's out wide. I think he went around Lennon.
I don't know. There was that Nashville guy where actually Miles actually got. I was shocked. Got beaten a foot race with that guy from Nashville.
Oh, that was a foot race, but I'm talking about dribbling by them.
Okay.
Okay, and then we had 2 where the defender was trying to block a shot and failed to block the shot. But my point in saying all that is it's not like I think our defenders really need that much help. They're not getting beat off the dribble. They're not really getting beaten even for shots off the dribble. That's not how we're giving up goals. Okay. So in any case, I think that if we never played airplanes and we never pinched in, I think that we could get +6.
Yeah.
I think it is possible we could get as many as +8 or +10 even, but I think it's pretty safe to say, even with the positive effects that we're having, we're probably down 6 goals because of that.
Yeah. And all jokes aside, too, if we did some things that were more creative up front when Giacomakis wasn't there, right? I think easily that's a reasonable, with, like I said, I believed in Wolf. I feel like he can find the back of the net with a little bit more wise minutes. Chol, I like the way that he's aggressive. Like as soon as he's on the field, you start mentioning his name. He may not do all the things I want correctly, but I think he's a positive player.
Well, one of the things I was saying is with doing those things, one of the things we could actually do is succeed in press. Do you know how many goals that we have scored off of turning them over in their own half? Which I say is the classic way that most goals are scored. How many goals have we scored this season?
Not a lot because we've had so many set pieces. We've had, from free kicks and from corners.
Yep.
Crosses, all of that.
7. That's my guess.
7.
Tyson says 7. Carmen?
I'm going to go lower than that.
I'm going to go 5.
4.
The answer is 2.
Okay.
Oh,
It's pretty sad for supposedly a pressing team. We have only gotten a goal off of a turnover up the field twice. And so I think that if we had players not pinched in, if we had it a little better marked up, if we didn't have airplanes bombing up the field, we could actually have a much, much stronger press, and we probably could get some of those chances that you were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Carmen.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm ready.
With all of that being said, if we were to simply fix those tactics, not even adding on the positive side, I think we would be probably at least +6.
Okay.
If you add +6 to our goal differential, you get +10.
Okay.
So let's go back to the table.
Let's go back to
Where
the
does
table.
plus table put us in the conference?
+10. We're ticking up. We're
First or second.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nashville's at +12. So that's my point.
Yeah.
My point is that I think that the silly tactics that we have is costing us 6, maybe 8 goals. And I think with a better coach, this team should be first and second with a +10 goal differential instead of a +4.
Seems fair.
I'm not talking about it's not making us into
World beaters. Yeah. The obvious number one, team that you would have thought we would have been with Almada and Araujo, being what we're paying them, and Giacomakis, who's obviously a pleasant surprise as well. So
because we're doing some things that it doesn't matter anything tactically. We're scoring we're 11 free kicks we've scored off of.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
not team tactics. I mean, with the exception that we're getting, free kick and or a corner kick, but everybody gets that. We're not getting more than other people. We're just scoring more.
So
right?
Before we jump into a New England preview, what else do you want to go to in your notebook? Anything there, or do you want to dive into what we think needs to happen against New England at home to get a win?
Yeah, we can do that. Or I obviously also thought about, just a comparison of our squad versus the MLS champions. But
Tyson's got his hand up patiently too.
Yep.
Oh, what are you doing over there?
Oh, against New England, I think Atlanta could actually win because New England.
Oh, we're going to New England, guys.
We're at least at home.
We're at home. I'm going to the game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Atlanta's at home, and New England, they've lost 3 of their last 4, and they tied Chicago 3-3, just like Atlanta.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
And
so they're in a tough little stretch.
Yeah, and they lost to a USL team as well. So
So did we.
So did we.
So
Yeah,
we
can do
so-
both struggle, is what you're saying.
so yeah, I think Atlanta could pull out a win, but Atlanta hasn't been looking good either.
If
But
you
home,
go
they're
player
pretty
for
good.
player with our squad versus New England, our squad is so much better,
Really?
right? And yet they're still above us in the table, right? What does that say?
But coaching. So
Yeah.
so
Bruce Arena is the most successful
Crazy.
coach in MLS history.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mikey Dawes, what do you want to say about the previews? You've heard that they're not on a good run of form. We're at home, so now you have the option of calling a win. That's not statistically madness.
Right. Well, here's the deal. I'm going to the game tomorrow, going to the game with family. We have to get a win, Dave.
Because you're going with family?
We
That's
went with
what it
family and we got crushed by Charlotte.
I know, that's why I didn't go to that game.
You guys picked the wrong
I
game.
knew we were going to get crushed by Charlotte. That's why I chose not to
No,
go
you
to that game. I was
didn't.
like, no.
No, you didn't, because we had beaten them 3-1 on the road.
Yeah,
We had won our first game on the road in ages.
I joke. I really, I'm predicting win because, God, I'm going to the game. We have to win. But realistically, with Bruce Arena coaching the team, I think a draw is the most realistic.
Carmen, can you
thing
bring
to
the
expect.
table back up for a second?
A draw is a reasonable expectation in this game. I didn't see much from the team formulating in terms of, again, an identity of the way that we're trying to play that is going to create create the right positivity that we need to get the win and not give up those goals. I mean, I think with the fact that we are allowing so many free crosses in, Dave, that being our crutch right now, no matter we score 2 or 3 goals, I think we can let a team back in to tie it back up. That's my worry right now.
I think Carl's heel is the New England Thiago Almada, basically. How's he going to get stopped? What do you think? And also, after, I have a pop quiz for all 3 of you, if you'd like.
All right.
Well,
Well,
I'm
I
going to hear
just-
Carmen's call, and then I'm going to tell you something that I
Oh.
think is illuminating.
Okay. So let's see. Wait, did you
That
say?
I also noticed in looking at our goals for and goals against. Go ahead.
Okay. So Mikey Dobbs, you're calling a what?
a tie.
You're calling a
Wait, I
tie.
thought you were going to go with a win. You went with a tie after all
Yeah, I
that.
did after all that rambling. I was like, we have to win because I'm going to be there, right? But that doesn't. I'm being cautious now. I'm actually going to make a true
Okay.
bet here that it's going to be a draw.
All right. I am gonna go with Atlanta United is going to win 3-1.
I'm calling a 2-1 loss, unfortunately.
Okay, flip it over to the Western Conference for a second.
Oh,
Up top,
goodness.
it's just up top. You gotta
Uh,
scroll down slightly,
Okay.
and then it.
Okay.
Oh, up. Sorry.
There we
Up,
go.
not down.
Sorry,
My
I said
bad.
the wrong thing.
My bad.
Okay, so we won the first game against San Jose. They're 5th place in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is not nearly as good as the Eastern Conference, right? That's for sure. Okay, so let's look at our other wins on the season. We have Portland. How far do you got to go down to find Portland?
Oh.
Keep going
I
down.
do know you scrolled down. for
They're
that.
9th.
Okay.
Okay. So then what is our other win? Let's see. We go down.
Colorado.
We have Colorado in the West. Yeah, they're pretty far down. Now go over to the East.
Okay, now do the scroll up. Woo.
Well done.
In the Eastern Conference, we beat Red Bulls. Let's see where they are. Oh, they're
There they are.
13th.
We lost to Inter Miami. He was at the very bottom.
And we beat
That's right.
Chicago at home.
Ooh.
They're 12th, right? And Colorado, we already
Yeah.
said.
And we got thrashed by Columbus.
So that's
who's
it.
10th.
So that's it. Those are our wins. Okay. So
Mm.
outside of a 5th place Western Conference team, every single team that we have beaten is way below half.
And some of the teams that have beat us are really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at our win. I'm just looking at our wins.
Yeah.
So now New England is in what? 2nd?
They were up there. I think that's right.
They're in third
Third?
right now.
They're in 3rd. They were in 2nd before, and now they're down to 3rd. But
So, Dave, are you going to predict a win or a loss or a tie? What's it going to be? Get to it.
It's not going to be a win. Because
Okay.
we're
So-
only beating teams that are at the bottom half of the table. I'm just giving you another pointer, right?
Okay.
So I thought you were going to predict a win, and I was going to say that seems silly because we haven't even come close to anybody beating anybody. And the teams, we haven't played that many, but the teams that we have played at the top, we've got like Nashville.
Yeah.
Terrible. We've got.
Yeah, I'm predicting a draw, but
Fun.
I will say this is probably the one time I probably should just go with like the optimistic view because Yakimakis is going to have like an outlier game and score 3
We
goals.
are much
Right.
better at home. We don't really lose at home very much.
Yeah.
So I think if you take the two things
Okay.
and you say that we only beat teams at the bottom of the table, but we basically hardly ever lose at home. We do lose, but occasionally, right? It's got to be a tie. Like it's almost guaranteed to be a tie.
All right. Put
All
some money in Vegas. Do you notice that like every single EPL team is sponsored by a betting company? It's got to be 60%, right, on the jerseys.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why their players like Tony are gambling. They're like, well, come on, guys, you guys are incentivizing me. It's like I didn't even know what gambling was until all this. And now
Just using your sponsor. What's the
Yeah,
problem? I
exactly.
don't understand.
Can I ask the pop question?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I love pop.
quiz.
Pop quiz, ATL on fire pop quiz.
Let's see.
Who are the 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that don't have any draws yet?
Ooh, we were just looking at the table, but I did not pick up on that. They
Any
don't
hints?
no draws.
Are they good or bad?
I'm gonna guess they're at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. One of them's mid-table and one of them's at the very bottom.
Well, then I know it's Inter Miami is one of them because I
Yeah.
remember the table.
That's right.
Yeah, they're at the bottom.
So Inter Miami.
Boy, Martinez.
Inter
That's
Miami.
what happens
I'm
when
gonna
you got
guess
Phil Neville. as
Inter
your
Miami
coach.
and Portland.
Monsieur, bonjour.
Oh, Montreal.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
look at
think
that.
it's Inter Miami and Montreal. That's why.
Okay.
Okay.
Has Yosef scored since he scored against us? Did that like send him
I don't
on a
think so.
score? I don't think he has
I don't know.
either.
That's a good
I don't
pop.
think
That would have
so.
been a good pop quiz
Oh,
too.
my bad.
So okay.
It's
So
just
we've got
depressing.
Carmen, you're a win, and Dave,
I'm a win.
Dave and I are draw.
Yes.
Draw, draw.
And Tyson's a
But
loss.
Carmen, we wouldn't need to hear a score because you're a genius. Last time you
I
called
said
it and the score.
3-1. 3-1.
Okay.
Tyson
Okay.
said lose 2-1.
I think 3-1's if you're gonna pick a win, 3-1's a good score.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a scoring tie, so it's going to be at least 2-2.
Oh,
Could be
a
3-3,
comeback.
but 2-2. I'm
Okay.
going
Okay. I like it. Did you get a score, Maggie Dobbs? or
because
you're
if
just
you
gonna
look
tie?
at our record, we cannot keep people
I'm
from
gonna go-
scoring. So if we're going to tie, it's going to be a high scoring tie.
I'm gonna go 2-2 on the tie.
2-2. All right.
Yeah.
Y'all are agreeing. What is
Yeah.
happening?
Is that what yours
That's
was?
what I
Yeah,
said.
y'all are agreeing.
He wasn't even listening.
I wasn't
so,
even
so
listening.
that was
I was
that was
in-
actually I thought he was just copying me, but he wasn't even listening. So that actually makes
Totally,
me
I
feel
was
better.
I was looking at
That
the
makes me
agenda.
feel better, Mikey
Great
Dobbs.
minds
Okay.
think
It's
alike.
just you're
2-2.
also a genius.
All right, all right.
You see how I complimented
Thank
myself?
you, thank you. All right. On to a conversation we had a couple podcasts ago that we are just surprised why in the MLS we don't have technology that gets involved with how the referees call
Yeah.
offside. So I know we didn't really have an answer on why that was. I think maybe we read a paragraph somewhere, but it sounds like Tyson might have a little bit more insight on why the MLS is not using VAR to be more sophisticated with the way that we're deciding whether a player's on or off. Given in today's world, with the ball coming off someone's foot, you can pause the camera and get it. You can get it inch perfect. It seems like other leagues are doing it. Why is it that MLS doesn't choose to kind of follow suit with some of the bigger leagues in the world?
So I found a good article from the Inquirer. I know my mom read it.
Yes.
And just so you guys don't get copyright or anything, it's from the Inquirer.
You can tell the Chat GPT plagiarism.
Yeah,
thing
you're
is
allowed to
big.
reference-
I
you're
like
allowed
it. I like it.
But Mom, you can explain it.
Well, I think one of y'all talked about it earlier. You guessed it. It's because, at least what they said, it's because all of our stadiums do not have enough cameras to properly do the line. And since we don't have enough cameras in all the stadiums, we can't do the offside line. Now, this was a couple years
That's
back.
a good excuse for like CONCACAF
Right.
and like
Thank you.
you know some island.
It's not even a
nation.
good excuse for
Thank
CONCACAF
you.
anymore because
Have you seen the Jamaican and Trinidad stadium?
have you seen how much a GoPro costs?
You know, the guy standing there. I've got another camera angle.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
That's true. You could just pay a bunch of random fans to put it on their heads, and
I
then
mean,
bam, you
with-
got a
Yeah.
zillion
With
angles.
Apple TV, I figure they could figure out how to put
Right,
enough cameras.
right,
So
yeah.
that was like and I have to say, the article was, I think a couple years back, but I don't think they're trying to do anything about it just because of this kind of idea about, it's VAR. It's assisting the referee.
Yeah.
The referee needs to make it. And I know there are people, I know. And they said at the time.
Do we
that-
have a button that boos you?
I
Can you
wish.
press
so
that?
Danny
Let's see.
Rojas is all we have.
No,
though.
don't do Danny
Okay, I'm
Rojas.
pressing a random button. Who knows what it's going to be?
Put him in a straight jacket.
Oh,
That's cheerful.
Somebody should put a straight jacket on this
we'll do
guy.
that one. We'll do that one.
All right.
But,
NBA
It's
jams.
not, it's not quite right, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, but I
Wait,
think they really are just. There was some pushback originally when the line came out, if y'all remember, because you had those like really tight ones. You're like, is this soccer to call somebody off
Yeah.
with their toes off?
Yep.
I
Lewis
like-
That's why there's
Suarez.
rule. There's got to be
Ready?
instead of
Ready?
it being imaginary, let's make it real.
Ready? You know
right?
what the English thing? Luis Suarez, your teeth are offside.
So yes, but go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
Do they just not show the line on the TV replays, or do they not use it for the VAR reviews either?
They don't use it. That's what originally we
okay.
thought they were only showing it for the TV, and we're like, okay, that's fine, but they at least should have it. We assume that they have
Yeah.
it, but they
They
don't
don't.
have it
They don't
even
have it.
in the. And the reason why we figured that out is because the controversial call with Yakimakis, he had to go over to the sideline and look in the booth, and they were talking
They
about
just
how he
eyeball
could
it.
see the on
They
the
just
grass.
eyeball it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, really?
Right. So
Because if VAR intervenes on an offside call, it should be black and white.
Yeah.
Right. It should be the computer said that, your teeth are offside.
So let's go across the pond. A lot of activity in Europe this weekend for.
You want to just keep going with Tyson first?
Yeah, well, he wants to talk.
Tyson, you want to talk refereeing?
A referee.
What I want to
I
hear
guess so,
about
yeah.
is first of all, you can tell us a little bit, anything you want to tell us about refereeing, but I in particular, you're a referee for youth soccer, and I want to hear a bit about the madness that referees face from coaches and parents, the kinds of things you hear.
Well, nowadays coaches don't give much of an issue because there's a known shortage of referees. So,
so they're just happier there.
Okay.
Basically.
All right.
and
That's good to hear.
what was the other part?
Parents.
Parents, what do you hear?
And kids.
Kids, I can deal with kids, but I need to work on not listening to parents because sometimes they just don't say the smartest thing.
But what calls do they protest the most?
Maybe throw-ins or when someone's
Throw-ins, really? What's
that's what I was
You
going
know
to
what it
say.
is?
It is
What's the beef with
unbelievable.
throw-ins?
I figured it out because
Okay, I wanna hear
this is
this.
the
or
thing.
maybe when someone's using their arms, like arms and
Okay.
physical body. Maybe.
But apparently they changed the rule for throw-in. So back in our day, I'm the old lady who's going to be like, back in our day, they had, remember, if it looked like it was twisting coming
Yeah.
out of your hand, you're like, that's an illegal throw.
Yeah.
So put a bunch of people like us on the sidelines and then change the rule where all it has to do is come from like behind your head. So it can
Yeah.
come twisty. It can come
Weston McKennie
really
does that. He does the twister throw
Yes.
for his long throw in.
Exactly.
It's actually an illegal throw, but
right.
they don't
Rodrigo
call
got a
that.
goal from it, but it's still going down anyway.
Yeah. So you have a bunch of
But
parents
this-
screaming, bad throw.
But this
apparently
is
that
the
was
thing, though. But I think maybe Tyson, you can correct me wrong, but I think that the thing that you most hear complaints about is whose throwing it is, our team or their team,
Oh.
like which way the call is. And that is so crazy. My daughter is refereeing now too, and I've been a couple times to watch her referee.
Yeah.
And the number of parents are vehemently contesting a throw in at midfield in a 7 or 9-year-old soccer game. You're like, please save it for a penalty kick call or something that's actually going to influence
You
the
know
game.
why that is?
Because they're mad.
No, it's because it's the one thing that they can actually understand about soccer.
Maybe.
That is a good point.
You know what I mean?
But even if that's
And-
true, they don't understand it because obviously if they understood it at all, they would be like, we don't really score off those.
yeah, but if it gives them something to be right about, if
Man.
if they feel like they're right, that
Right.
it went off the other player and their eyeballs are correct. And that's like the one thing they can actually understand about soccer. It's the one thing they feel they've got the right to complain about.
And in youth
That's
soccer,
that's
it's like the hardest call to make because so in professional soccer, you rarely see a case where two guys are crashing to it and it just gets the same time and it goes out of bounds. It happens, but that's a lot less because they're cleaner with the ball. In in youth soccer, that's happening all the time. And it's almost impossible to know, did it come off this or that or whatever? I mean, what I would say to referees is, watch the trajectory of the ball. So the player who's coming in whatever way, if the ball goes off that way, that probably came off them.
Yeah.
Right.
Or go with the kids. So
yes, that's the other thing you can do. Often they know the truth.
Yes.
And if you watch their reaction,
Right.
you can be like, I've seen a lot of times the referee didn't know which way it
pause
was. And
for
you
a
just
second.
pause.
Yeah. Pause and see what movement happens. And there you go.
Play on.
All right.
I was definitely one of those players. I didn't care. I knew it would come off my foot. I'm picking it up and throwing it. Worst case, you're just
You
bringing
were a
it back.
bastard.
I was a bastard, and
Oh
I
my
loved every second. of
Goodness. You are one of those. You know who used to do that too?
Oh no! Oh no! Who am I about to be compared with?
I won't say.
No.
He got a lot of red cards. He was on our team last year. Now he's no longer on our team.
Leandro Gonzalez Perez.
No, that's a good one. But
I
no.
loved it.
He used to play Orlando. He was married to a famous woman
Tom
footballer.
Dwyer!
But I think he only had two.
He would
two or
argue
three red
anything.
cards.
He would argue. No, but he would argue throw-ins.
Yeah.
It would go off of him so
Yeah.
blatantly, and he was one of those bastards who didn't care. He'd be like,
Yeah.
"It's our throw."
I'm
So I
throwing it.
throw.
I'm throwing it.
And you're
Just
like,
bring it back. That's
It
fine.
clearly hit you. You know that it hit you, and you're just crying wolf because now the next time you go for a foul call, nobody's going to believe you.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If you're a
Yes.
referee,
Mhm.
right? You know, particularly in professional where they're watching all the games week in and week out, they know the players' reputations. So you're killing your reputation as a player. Those referees watch, they know the players who, complain about things that are clearly on them or whatever, and they don't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. Crying wolf, that's called.
Let's jump across the pond and
Okay.
race to the finish line. Because if we come back to the U.S., there's a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
So
Your show, boss.
promotion, relegation. That's right.
Yes.
So all three games this weekend for the championship, League 1, League 2, they actually went to extra time, and 2 of them went to penalties. And I actually read an article on ESPN that the championship playoff is the most expensive game ever. because
Yes.
the winner gets like 210 million.
Luton Town.
Luton
Yeah,
Town.
Luton Town.
You say 210 million?
So, Tyson, have you seen their home stadium?
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty small, but no, I don't think I've seen it.
So
I didn't watch the home
It's
leg.
really cool. It's like surrounded by like houses. Like you can watch it from
Yeah.
like
The internet memes are amazing.
yeah.
They
So-
put the because it's the gate is like in this crazy little thing. So people have put the gate like on hillsides
Yeah.
and in Smurf Village and
Yeah.
whatever. They're like, it's Luton Town Stadium.
And Luton won in PKs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
With the U.S. keeper, right?
yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Horvath.
Horvath, who looked like he had like pulled a hamstring and wasn't going to
Oh,
finish
yeah,
it up,
yeah.
but then stayed on.
Stayed on.
And then the next day there was a 6'9" keeper
yeah.
who was from Czech Republic, and he looked even bigger than Ethan Horvath.
He was huge.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting with Luton Town. How are they going to get the stadium up to Premier League spec?
They're not gonna.
I think they
There's
have
no way,
there's a
right?
grace, there's a grace
That's one of the
period.
small things that that's one of the small things that help Luton Town. Their stadium.
But you have a number of years. If you stay in the Premier League for a number of years, you are required to upgrade your stadium to a certain
Well,
capacity.
look
That's the
look
rule.
how New York City FC got away with it.
Well, yeah.
Everyone gets away with it. It's all politics. It'll
Even
be
they're
fine.
building their own stadium.
America's
Somebody put a
America.
shovel in the ground.
I would also bet, if you want to do a bet, Luton Town has no bloody chance of staying up next year. Neither
Horvath, you got to start with a good keeper.
was it Coventry. and-
Nobody,
is it Coventry and
Nobody
Luton?
believed in Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, they're still up.
That's fair. I believe.
With
I,
Robin Hood.
yeah, but I don't know.
As their striker.
Neither one of those
Just kidding.
teams was
Just kidding.
neither one of those teams was very impressive in that game.
No.
Yeah.
So, and then the relegation.
The relegation, Everton, and
We said that Everton was never going to get relegated. We
Yeah.
called it right.
All of us
They've
said that.
still never been
and
relegated.
why am I blanking on who Everton is playing?
Bournemouth, right?
They
Yeah,
played
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. They're playing the Cherries. Yeah.
Yeah.
And wow, what a goal to not go to penalty kicks yet again. I was like, oh, this is definitely going to penalty kicks, but in the dying
There are no
seconds,
penalty kicks.
Wait, which
No.
one are you talking about?
Yeah, you're just jumping all over. the place.
Everton, the Everton game.
Oh,
You can't go to penalty kicks in the Premier.
yeah.
League.
There's no penalty kicks in the regular. It's just regular season.
Yeah.
This was about to go. It was about to go to extra time. Sorry, and then
There's
it
no
goes-
extra time even.
There
It's
was no
regular
extra
season.
time.
There's just a winner, right? If you finish easily on points, it's goal differential and then head to head.
Now, if they had tied and
I have-
Leicester
I
was
have
gonna
lost my
win,
mind. It's
Leicester
okay.
was going to go.
Yes.
But then Decore scores an absolute screamer.
That
Right?
was-
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
fantastic goal to
Yeah.
keep him in the Premier League.
Very nice.
And to relegate Leicester, who
Right.
up until that point, the Leicester was leading 2-0. So Leeds just had no
Yeah.
Was
chance.
it
and they just
0-0
lost.
1-1? I can't remember in that Everton.
It was
game.
0-0.
0-0, and then Decore just ropes one.
Yeah.
I mean, no way anybody's
Yeah.
stopping that.
And they needed it because Leicester was up 1-0 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they
That goal to hit a ball that hard and flat was pretty impressive.
But I have to say, I called it. We were talking about Europe a few
oh,
weeks
Dave's
ago.
like,
Did
oh,
you?
I got
We
it.
did. We did get
no,
that
no,
three.
I'm
Oh.
talking about that. I
Oh.
said it was all going to be boring, and it kind of was. There wasn't that much drama. I said the only drama is going to be Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund. Who's going to win the title? Were you following that? Can I take you through the scenario?
Well, yeah,
Yes,
all
yes, you
born
can,
or
unfortunately.
Dortmund only just had to win basically.
So
right?
Dortmund had to
I
win,
watched that game
and they would have
I
been
was
through
cheering
no
for
matter what,
Dortmund.
or they could have had Bayern Munich not win, and then they go through.
and
then they
Dortmund,
would have been
Dortmund was
champion.
at home, correct?
Dortmund was at
Yeah.
home.
And they haven't lost how long at home?
So
I mean,
right
they
off
still
the
haven't
bat,
lost.
okay, listen, I'm gonna go through it quick. Right off the bat, right, Dortmund gives up a goal right from the beginning, right, and Bayern Munich scores right from the beginning. So right then, Dortmund is no longer winning the title.
Then
Dortmund
misses
gets a
penalty.
penalty kick, which they missed to tie the game.
Oh.
Oh, terrible.
Oh.
Right. And then shortly after that, they concede again. They're down 2-0. So now they're in really big trouble. Their really only hope is for Bayern Munich not to win. So Bayern Munich is winning the whole time. And somewhere in the 70th minute, Bayern Munich concedes.
Ooh.
And it's 1-1. And suddenly Dortmund fans are going nuts because they're going to win the title, even though they're down 2-0. Right. And then while
Jamal
that's
Musiala.
going on, Dortmund scores to make it 2-1, close it, but doesn't
Yeah.
really matter because they still have to win, right? There's no way, right? In the 90th minute, Bayern Munich scores to go up 2-1, and now Dortmund is going down again. There's no chance they have to win it. The
Oh.
91st minute, Dortmund scores to make it 2-2, and they have a chance to win it by going 3-2, but they cannot score in the last 2 minutes.
Oh.
And Bayern Munich wins the title.
That
Yeah.
goal was crazy. By
That's
Jamal
drama.
Musiala.
Oh,
That was a
man.
really good goal. But I was watching the Dortmund game and I was not in a
Yeah.
good mood after the
So did you guys watch
Our buddy
the
G Arena,
It was-
no
it
champion.
was the Bundesliga 2 promotion one?
Oh,
I don't
didn't-
think that's happened yet. has it?
Oh, this is you got to go YouTube it
Oh,
this evening.
really?
Was it today?
Madness. I think it was yesterday, I believe.
Okay.
So the team that was about to win, they score like a goal in extra time. I may have this all wrong. You got to go watch it again. So they're up like 2-1, I think. And then
I think it would have probably only been like one though.
the fans storm the field because they think the game's over.
Wait, what?
Everybody's celebrating. They're going up. They're getting promoted.
Uh-huh.
The referee's like, no, there's like a few more minutes of extra time here. They're up by 1. Other team comes back and scores and gets a penalty kick,
No.
scores, and then scores like in another, like the next 60 seconds is 3-2. Something crazy like that. You have to watch on YouTube. I don't
How
know.
are there so many? I mean, it's just a beautiful
I might have the
time for
math wrong on that,
soccer.
This is what MLS is missing.
It is so beautiful.
I mean,
to
I know
witness.
why we can't do it and everything else, but this is really what the American. So this is what would set the MLS apart from other American sports, because if you could somehow do it, I know that all the problems.
Yeah.
We don't want to go through that, but if you could somehow do it, it would introduce a whole nother thing for
Yeah.
American sports fans. Not just rooting for your team, but rooting against your freaking enemies. Like,
Yes.
go down, go down.
I think we can do it. We've got 30 MLS teams right now.
Yeah.
We've got stability, right?
Yeah.
Create some sort of system where there's still financial stability, but you're in the
The
MLS
parachute. You
you're-
need a major parachute.
Just create a bullcrap MLS Premier League. That's the top 15 teams.
That's
or whatever.
easy.
That's basically USL,
It's easy to
right?
have the
Right.
second league. The hard part is you just paid X millions of dollars. It's like now what, 200, $300 million to get a MLS franchise? Just the franchising fee, not paying for a stadium, nothing, just to buy a franchise. And so you pay all that, and then next year your team gets relegated. And if you buy a first-year team, you have a very good chance of getting relegated, right? So if you start out first-year team, you go down. So you'd have to have, first of all, some kind of new entry that says that, like, for a period of time, like 5 years or something, you get immunity. You can't get relegated because otherwise nobody would do it. Your chances of getting relegated in the first 5 years are really high.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing is you need to create a huge parachute because they paid all that money. They've got all this whatever. Yeah. So they need a huge financial incentive to bump right back.
Invest or get, at this point, 30 MLS teams, maybe some of them do need to go out of business.
Yeah. Well, it would be amazing for the American sports market because there's all this question now. Most of the major cities have teams. So now the question is, we have a lot of cities in America. And the question is, what other cities can support a team? And that's what promotion relegation does. It says, look, if you have enough support, you can have a team. Like, who knew Cincinnati would have decent support? But they do.
So we're talking U.S. soccer again, MLS. What do you think about the news in the U.S. soccer camp? We've got a new interim coach. We got a new sporting director, Matt Crocker. We talked a little bit about that in the last podcast. What do you think it means that we still haven't assigned a permanent head coach, and we've assigned this guy who I've never heard of? What's his name? Dave, do you even know? Bellingham or what's it? BJ?
Oh, you mean who just took the position after after Hudson left?
Yeah, after Hudson left for
no
reason. Yeah, no one even knows who he is.
I know some things about him. Just I read.
But why would we do this? Like, what's the rationale? He's going to oversee the summertime Nations League Cup.
Well, they had to because the interim coach left. He got clearly. They won't say where, but he got hired by someone. Okay, so he got an opportunity. Yeah, he got an opportunity. He left. So they don't have a choice. He quit.
They should ignore the drama and go back to Berhalter. The drama was childish.
No, we loved it. We loved it here. All the drama.
Tyson.
BJ.
No, Berhalter.
Callaghan.
No.
Why? Why not?
It was because Berhalter's never won anything.
But he got the U.S. to the World Cup, something that Jurgen Klinsmann
the U.S.
didn't do.
That's a low bar.
Yeah.
I mean, the chances.
But that's all that the U.S.
Not only that, but they increased the number of slots, so it was even easier. So I think that's a really, really low bar. It's not like he won the CONCACAF either. Yeah. It was Canada who won the CONCACAF.
We don't probably ever really need to qualify ever again for the World Cup the way that it's shaken out, right?
Yeah. So first of all, in the next World Cup, we're already qualified because we're home. And second of all, now they've increased it to what? Six. It used to be a hexagonal, they would call it, the final hex to see who would get in. Now they just can't even do that anymore because there's six that get in. If you had a hexagonal, you'd play six and then everyone get in. Right? So that's ridiculous. So I mean, my problem with Berhalter is his record is
The U.S. should go hard for Jose Mourinho after he wins tomorrow afternoon. And then
I thought we were going to get, I didn't.
Zidane?
No, I thought we could make a run at Tuchel because he was going to get fired as Bayern Munich coach because there was no way they were winning the title. That's what I said.
You did say that.
They won the title. So maybe he saved his job. Yeah. The sporting director, Oliver Kahn, the old German goalkeeper for Bayern Munich, he got fired.
Oh, we did. They have to get rid of somebody.
They got someone to head roll, and we'll see whether the coach survives.
Dave, you're a big fan of Caleb Porter being a candidate for the job, right?
Yeah. I don't really know that much about him, of course, as a coach, but I just know his record.
Regular season, 123 wins, 18 draws, 17 losses. So he's got like an 83% winning in the NCAA.
Yeah. He won a champion.
Akron, and then
at Akron, people, he won a national champion. Have you anybody ever heard of Akron before he came through? No. And then they won an NCAA champion. You think, okay, NCAA champion, UCLA, Indiana, blah, blah, blah. No.
National championships, 2010 Portland Timbers.
Yep.
Regular season in the MLS, he's got like a 61% winning percentage, 70 wins, 40. Is the middle one draws these days?
It's wins, draws, and losses.
Yeah, so 44 draws, 36 losses, but 70 wins as an MLS regular. An MLS Cup, Western Conference champions 2013-15, Columbus Crew. Campeones Cup, MLS Cup win. Yeah, I mean he's got all sorts of good.
He's
good
won the MLS
stats.
Cup with 2. So to me, he's a cup specialist, right? So I have no idea. I haven't followed exactly. I mean, he's been fired from the last 2 places that he coached after winning the MLS title. So, so he won it in Portland and got fired. And then he won it in Columbus and got fired. And so, you got to say that's worrisome that he gets fired. He wears out his welcome. But as a cup specialist, winning in tournaments, which is what the MLS is, which is what the NCAA is, which is what the World Cup is.
Yeah. So do you think though? Do you think it's a good sign at least that we've got an interim coach? It means Crocker's at least extending his search beyond Jesse Marsh.
Thank God. I mean, one of the things I'll say is that finally there are other names being mentioned. And I think it was on MLS Extra where they were agreeing that how could you possibly run a search in this, with what happened without saying that we did our due diligence. We interviewed multiple people. They were,
right.
I mean, this is what I was saying before, because all we heard was Jesse Marsh. And I'm like, if you hire Jesse Marsh without us hearing legitimate other names, even if you interviewed them behind the scenes, that is crazy. Right, you can't possibly do that, right? So now we've heard a few number names, and they have said that it's going. He just came in, so we thought he was going to come in, hire Jesse Marsh like a couple of weeks later. That's not true, clearly, which is awesome. Good on him. He's going to take through the summer to do it, and so the rumors are now that maybe Jesse Marsh isn't even the favorite. So.
That's what I figured you would take it. I took it as a good sign that we're going to do our due diligence instead of rushing to, we have to have a coach for no reason.
Yes.
Okay.
So even if you end up at Jesse Marsh, and we talked about the possibility of the positives behind Jesse Marsh too, even if you end up at Jesse Marsh, then you've done your due diligence, then you can at least say, all right.
You think Tata's going to be a candidate that they'll talk to?
Should be.
Because, I mean, he speaks English well enough at this point.
For sure.
Because that's one of the requirements. You have to speak English.
Yes.
That's only a new requirement, because when we qualified, in the U.S., when we first got out of our group under Bora Multitunovic, he didn't speak almost a word of English.
Yeah.
Right. He was our head coach. Right. So that's just we want our coaches to be able to speak English.
And you have to live in Chicago.
Yeah, which is also
it's crazy.
Who has to live in Chicago? The coach, the
whole
people?
crew.
Yeah.
Really? They need to open that up.
That's crazy.
But do you think the rest, we love Tata because he won us a championship. What about the rest of the U.S.? Like Tyson was saying, would we hire a rival for that job?
And he's a little bit damaged goods from CONCACAF because Mexico flared out in the World Cup.
Yeah, but they had their own issues. But
yeah. I would argue that,
I mean, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, that's right. I pulled up his record. I mean, his record speaks for itself.
Right.
Yep. We talked about it in Atlanta United last podcast. But I just think that another U.S. former national team player, Jesse Marsh, really? Do we have to?
No, we don't.
Why can't we get a coach who has won something?
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah, I like winning.
What about first-time coach? I think DeMarcus Beasley might be a good coach.
No.
He can't even commentate.
No.
You have to have a resume.
I thought he was a good commentator. That's why I thought he might be a good coach and the experience. All those years in MLS.
We're trying to get away from that whole brotherhood.
Experimental and the brotherhood. Yeah.
I
mean, you could go with a former national team player, wasn't that big, Steve Cherundolo, who has now won an MLS Cup title, And now I don't think the LAFC is going to get rid of him mid-season. They're doing amazingly well.
Beasley would have to go on and have years of coaching before that's even a
because all the U.S. national team coaches they hire for the U.S. 20 and all these things, Tab Ramos being the glaring example, and they suck.
Yeah.
They lose
even
really badly.
Someone like Josh Wolf, right? Let's say his resume over the next 5 years becomes a winning resume.
Where is he now? He had that amazing season for Austin last year, and now they're
no good.
Not so good.
Right. So you have to let the data play out before you make a call like that.
Score prediction on the CONCACAF Champions League leg 1 tomorrow. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I think LA Gal. Why do I keep saying it? I say LAFC wins it, and we win 2 years in a row. Right.
I
So
didn't
it's
realize
another.
that's happening tomorrow, huh?
Well,
It's
it's
the
2
first
legs. The first leg's
leg.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it's in America.
Yeah. So last year we won with Seattle, first time in forever, really in the CONCACAF Champions League. The interesting thing about the CONCACAF Champions League has been criticized because of the timing of it. It's terrible for us. It's beginning of the season. It's mid-season for them, whatever. But anyway, we're about to have the Leagues Cup.
When does that start?
It starts in July, right?
Okay. So we're only almost a month away.
Yeah, we're a month away from the awesomeness that is the Leagues
Okay,
Cup.
can you explain to me one more time? I'm going to say it's for the listeners who don't know, but it's
The-
really for me. The Leagues Cup.
It is
What exactly? How is it like?
the MLS.
Uh-huh.
Every team in the MLS versus every team in Liga MX
Okay,
are put into group stages just like the World Cup,
got it.
right? So they're mixed up in a bucket just the way that you do the draw in the World Cup.
Okay.
So Atlanta United is in a group of 4. I think we're with Inter Miami.
There are some buys. I think if you're Liga MX or MLS champion, you
Yeah.
get a buy right through the group stage. But
Okay.
it includes every single team.
Yeah, so there's some pass-throughs with accolades of winning stuff, but Atlanta United, I think we're in a group of 4, which includes Inter Miami and 2 Liga MX teams.
Okay.
So again, the best 2 teams exit that group to be in the knockout rounds.
Got it.
So it works just like the World Cup. Pretty neat. I mean, it's going to be, a lot of soccer on Apple TV.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to sit down and binge it. Should be fun.
And does MLS happen?
What's going on? Danny Rojas.
Oh, which?
We got to dance to this. League Cup, people.
I know.
It's going to be amazing.
Inaugural League
Yes.
Cup.
Y'all have been
Sorry.
very excited about this. for a
I am
long
very,
time.
Yeah.
very, very excited
Because
about it.
Yeah, it is.
It
So
is
cool.
another benchmark for MLS to truly say, are we better or worse than Liga MX?
Yeah, and it's a
Right.
real one
The
too,
ba-
because
yeah,
you got all the.
it's a
teams
real
playing.
it's a real benchmark of how
and they're
good
going to do it
MLS
every
is.
year.
They do it every
Right.
year, so you'll start to really know, is MLS getting better or worse than Liga MX, right? And I
Right.
think that's a real barometer that's exciting. I think you're going to start to get a little more rivalry happening. There should be some storylines behind it that, again, I think Apple TV, if they have any sense with MLS production, they should do something cool there.
They're televising every single game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So let's create some narratives.
We get a World
like
Cup
it.
every summer, Carmen,
Yeah.
Okay. And so are we? So MLS stops.
and Liga MX.
And Liga
MLS
MX stops.
We do
Full
this
stop.
like a
It's a
World
month
Cup
off.
type thing. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Pretty cool.
It's gotta be.
Do you think if it's a flop, they'll stop it though?
How could it be a flop?
I know.
What?
There's also the summer series for the Premier League coming to America as well.
Yes, but this is just
Yeah.
a money grab of
Yeah.
Tyson. I feel like people want.
Are you
to
going to
come
buy my
to
ticket? Because I'll go if you buy my
Mercedes.
ticket.
No, thank you.
Like, they got good teams coming to, like, it's Chelsea and Newcastle, whatever, coming
Yeah.
to the Mercedes-Benz, but like all their stars are going to play like 17 and a half minutes and then disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just as, and even if they play a half, right? They're in preseason form. It's
Safety
not-
first. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, the only thing those games are good for is seeing the future stars on
Yeah.
some of these teams. You can see some of the young players get their first ever minutes, but you're paying and they're doubling the prices.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's really expensive.
I think Leagues Cup, we're going to have like some.
and there's nothing to play for. There's
Some
no
action.
competition. So they have unlimited subs. So you're going to see, 142 subs in the game. And it's not good.
Yeah. Okay.
Even at times I've gone to see my beloved Manchester United play in the US a couple of times in preseason, and it's even for that I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not like seeing a Premier League game.
So
that's
we
for
got,
sure.
who is it? Somebody in the chat talking about Apple TV. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what do people think of Apple TV so far and the production? Tyson, have you watched many games on the platform?
I have. I think it's fine, especially because we got a free season for watching Ted Lasso. Or
Yeah.
my mom did. But I think
Oh.
I think it's fine, even though Atlanta's game tomorrow is being broadcasted on FS1. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I do find it like I feel like I actually am watching less of the other teams this year.
Yeah, me
Where
too.
like at late at night, after there would be like I'd be on YouTube TV and I'd see LFC playing, and I'd actually watch the entire game, sitting up
Mhm.
having a glass of wine because it was on. I'm not finding myself clicking on other teams to watch,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, if I'm not doing it, nobody's doing it, or very few
That's
people.
interesting. I would have thought.
Are you doing it?
Are
Are you
you?
clicking on other games? Honestly,
No, but I'm really bad that way. Like I obsess about watching Atlanta United games.
Yeah, but I think
and
that's
hardly anything else.
But
That's
that's the.
always been.
Don't you think that's the majority of?
I
MLS
used to be. I
fans
didn't
or
even
no?
watch the MLS playoffs because we weren't
Yeah.
in there.
But did you find
no
yourself watching last year, like if you would watch an Atlanta United game and on the same station there was like there's a game on the West Coast that happened a little bit.
To be fair, no.
No, okay.
but
Yeah, but I would catch like random games
I'm
that would
bad
be like
that
on
way.
Fox.
Yeah.
Like you'd be flipping through like on a Sunday.
I'm really
afternoon or
bad that
something.
way. Y'all are like real soccer fans. I'm only like I'm an obsessive soccer
Yeah.
fan.
But it
Who's
doesn't.
on the chat here? We got
Strong.
Strong. I don't
me?
know. Are you watching other games outside of Atlanta United? Just
Yeah,
curious.
you can
curious
weigh in on the
what-
chat.
Weigh
Yes,
in because
please
am
do.
I an anomaly here, or is this kind of a trend?
But I think
Don't know.
I'm like Kat. So it's like very much Atlanta United is playing at this time. Click on it. Your programming is over. It's not
I
like
have to
then,
say,
like, go
you want to know
something
how
else.
pathetic I am?
Ooh,
right.
please do tell.
So, the Premier League, the only thing that was interesting is the relegation battle, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was still clicking over a lot of times to watch the Man United game, which meant
yeah.
nothing.
But
Oh,
yeah, you wanted to
Because that's my
see.
team, right? And
Right.
I'm like, I wanted us
When-
to be over Newcastle. But that's pathetic because that meant nothing.
But you want to still see your team. Like Troy.
But that's
came-
what I'm thinking. I'm saying I'm
Yeah.
obsessive about seeing my team.
that's-
So I'll watch my team
Yeah.
over anything.
Do you think you're going to beat City in the FA Cup
Like I've
final?
literally watched, I think there's one
do.
Atlanta United game ever that I didn't see.
What? Really?
Ever.
Okay, people. If y'all ever say
I
that
just-
Cats is not dedicated
Yeah.
to this whole thing.
If you wonder whether he's analyzing whether we're playing fullbacks up or not, this is your guy.
Because even like I couldn't get the game when I was down in Panama,
yeah.
but I still came back and watched the
Amazing.
game.
Watched it.
But, you know.
God bless you.
So Tyson, you think United is going to beat City in the FA Cup final?
I think Man United is going to beat City. Yeah,
Is there a reason why?
Do you actually?
yeah, because
'Cause Ten Hag said it was so.
oh
No,
well, yeah,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Tyson. I didn't mean it.
and earlier in the year United beat them as well.
Right.
And Victor Lindelof's been playing pretty well, and Varane speaks for himself. So.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I would feel really good if we still had Lisandro Martinez,
Yeah.
but Casemiro is playing really, really well. And we got Rashford back. We got the gang's all
Yeah.
back.
And so City's also got to balance the
We even have Garnacho.
Champion League,
And they have to worry because they have the Champions League final a week later that they're thinking about.
which is way more important, right?
well, at
Obviously.
this point, they're feeling treble. But I think to me,
everyone would agree.
the
that
psychology
Champions
is
League
all for Man
win.
United because it's so hard to win the treble, and the only team ever to win the treble was '99 Man United in England, and so Manchester City would tie that team, right? So those players do not want
Yeah, so
Man United to lose the soul.
Man United is playing for that pride.
Oh
to
my God! I mean, the fans. Right? Normally they have 12 beers. Those guys are going to be 17, 19 beers before kickoff.
Is that played at Wembley? Where's the
Yes,
Okay.
it's always at Wembley, the FA
Yeah.
Cup final.
Oh.
and then City plays, was it Inter or AC? Milan.
They play Inter.
Inter Milan.
Yeah, Inter beat AC Milan.
I don't think they have a chance, do they?
No. So that's pretty much a
chance in
foregone
hell.
conclusion.
Yeah.
Now everybody says that, and there's always a fluke, right?
Yeah.
But
Like, what are the players on Inter Milan?
There's
Lukaku?
Lukaku.
So he's on loan from Chelsea.
Yes,
There's Andre Onana.
yeah, they've got a good team.
Henrik Mkhitaryan, Man
Yeah,
United player.
Mkhitaryan.
Darmian.
the Darmian former.
So
Man United player.
Lukaku's living
All
the dream on
the
loan
cast-offs.
again, away from the madness at Chelsea.
He's really good, except for when he was at Man United.
Yeah.
There's Lautaro Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
Brozovic.
Yeah, Lautaro Martinez, the Argentinian, real good.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got a good team, but
they don't have
I mean, if you watch Man City, oh my God,
Yeah.
they really can play football.
That
magic,
that
that
pounding
team.
they gave Real Madrid was
Yeah.
like it basically reminded me of Italy 1990. They're like dribbling around in the box and like somebody shoot it.
Like, we don't have to. We
It
will
was-
shoot when we are good and ready.
Yeah.
We want to talk with you some more, and then blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we got another viewer is talking. Lautaro Martinez. There you go.
Yes.
Commenting, right? So there you go.
Man City are
chat's-
all controlled. I can never say this word. I can never say that word.
Yes, I agree.
They
So
were-
that's what Pep does. Is he's got them so drilled into those different holes. I mean, it's funny because Pep is this is like it's free total football, but it's so programmed total football. They know their movements or whatever. So it's kind of like a contrast. It's an enigma and within a riddle within
Pep
itself.
does have a loss at the Etihad though. Finally,
He's terrible in the Champions League. He tends to tinker.
Just last week, Pep lost at the Etihad.
I know, and he tends to tinker in the finals. He's lost a bunch of finals.
No, Pep Guardiola lost at the Etihad. I don't think you're listening to me.
Yes, I know. You're talking about Ted Lasso.
I gotcha.
Oh man, you spoiled it.
Sorry. Earmuffs. All right.
Strong. Yes, Mourinho gets it tomorrow.
From the bottom of my heart, people, I apologize.
Yeah.
I should not have said that.
I'm sorry.
I hope every single podcast listener was up to date on the episode. Sorry.
All right. Well, have we talked about it all, Dave? Carmen?
About a lot.
Ty?
I think we've talked about
I think
Well,
so.
it all.
Thanks everybody for jumping in on the chat. Excited we got some people tuned in on the YouTube and
definitely.
the stream, and looking for a win tomorrow regardless of the bet. Let's bring it home tomorrow at home.
Should be fun.
Should be fun. I'm going to be there in person. I can't wait.
Okay.
All right.
Take care,
Thanks
people.
everybody. Danny Rojas. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, the chat was live.